Hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, welcome. My name is Christina and I'm super excited to have you join us today. Today I'm going to be sharing a story with you guys. I actually posted this on my Instagram polls just to see what videos you guys would like to see next from me, and I put this as one of the options and the resounding votes went to this video. So here we go. This is the story about how we lived next to a murderer without even knowing it. So in June of 2019, my husband and I had just gotten married. We got back from our honeymoon. We were looking for apartments. We saw this incredible looking apartment that was still under construction. It was brand new. We went into the office, met the managers. We loved them, filled out the application and got the apartment. We were the first ones to move into this apartment and we loved it. Best part about it is it was in a very safe neighborhood. It was brand new construction. It was really close to the mall. It was right next to Target, and that was such a win for us. We fell in love with the place, moved in, everything was super comfortable. We had a lot of neighbors start moving in after us. We met all of them and we just overall felt very safe, very homey in this apartment. So the way that this building is set up is that there are two buildings, and in each building there is about 36 apartments. And the way that they constructed this apartment complex was that it didn't have like an on-site office where there's like a club room and a fitness center. Instead, they used one of the apartments as their office. This was really cool, worked out just fine. I went in a lot to see the management. They treated me with coffee. It was great. A few months passed, management knocks on our door and they tells us that they were bought out and that they were leaving the next day. We were kind of nervous that they were already leaving and we didn't know who was going to be our next property managers. The new management came, they took over, and they started packing this apartment complex really quickly. There were times whenever I started coming home, started seeing a lot of people loitering in the parking lots. We started noticing that our neighbors had like 6 people, adults, living with them. And we started being a little bit sketched out, but we were like, you know what? It's fine, whatever, nothing's happened. We're not going to be here for that long. After a while, the apartment complex kind of started getting out of control. Because the management company packed these apartments so quickly, the garbage situation was just out of control. There were like mattresses, people were just dropping garbage off. The parking lot was packed. There was never anywhere to park. We'd have to park street parking or across the street. There was a lot of parties going on, but it was just kind of annoying whenever you're trying to sleep and there's like music bumping at 3 a.m. And the worst part of all of this is that the property managers moved the office off-site. So there was never somebody there 24 hours a day. Instead, if you needed management, you just had to call them and wait for like 3 hours for them to come and help you out with whatever you need. So we lived on the 3rd floor on the very right side of the apartment complex, and we had 4 neighbors on our floor. And so we knew one of the girls in the 2 apartments right across from us. We had a lot of teenagers living there, and by teenagers they were probably like between 18 and 25. But it started getting kind of out of control. There was about 6 to 8 people living in these apartments, and you guys, these apartments had 2 bedrooms, so I don't know where they were all sleeping. We started emailing management and we were like, hey you guys, the parking lot has become very littered. It's become very dirty. There's nowhere to park. This is stuff that you guys should be taking care of. We never had this issue before with the previous management. Can you guys look into this? We've probably emailed them like 4 times and they would fix the problem temporarily, but then it would just get worse later on. Each building was split up into 3 sections, and I literally feel like our section had all the bad kids. Like every time we were passing by trying to get to our apartment, you know, after work or something, there were kids all over the stairs. They were smoking. They were doing stuff that you're not supposed to do at those apartments. And we did complain about it from time to time, but we were like, at this point, we're just picking our battles and hanging tight until we move out in a few months. Well, February came around, and let me tell you, we started seeing a lot of police officer presence in the premises. And I don't know about you guys, but that's not always a good sign, okay? If you have a police officer as a neighbor, that is like the best thing ever. But you guys, they were not our neighbors, okay? They were literally stopping by so often. Every time I'd like drive home for lunch and pull up and I'd be like, there are like 4 police officers here. We would ask management. They didn't tell us anything. And I don't know why that wasn't the biggest red flag for us. We just kind of let it slide. One blissful February morning at the crack of dawn, and I'm not kidding, I think it was like 5 a.m. My husband and I were sleeping when suddenly we heard this shouting in the corridor, and we were so startled awake, we seriously thought that somebody was like getting murdered. And my husband runs out, he opens the door just to creak, and he like grabbed a kitchen knife just in case to see what's up. We didn't see what was happening, but this shouting went on for probably 5 minutes. We were at the point where we were gonna call the police, and then finally it started fading and it stopped. We had no idea what was happening, but we knew that we were done with this place. Later that day, I emailed management and I was like, listen, you guys, it's been cool, but we are moving out. We're breaking our lease. Like, this has gone on way too long. We've constantly had complaints and you guys haven't really done anything. We are moving out of here. The property manager calls me later that day and she's like, listen, I'm so sorry. Today, we've got ambulances here, police officers, lawyers. You guys, she called me to convince me to stay at these apartment complexes. This is how she started the conversation. And then she proceeds to tell me this story. The kids on the second floor were up all night, 4 a.m., just chilling, when suddenly one of the guys mentions something about the guy on the third floor. This part is kind of murky, but what I got from this is that the guy on the third floor was a traitor or something along those lines. So these guys get all rattled up, start going upstairs, start yelling, banging on his door, and that's the sound that we heard. This guy opens the door a creak. They drag him out, drag him 3 flights of stairs into the parking lot and beat him up. And our property manager called us and to apologize and just asked us to stay. At this point, my husband and I were like, thanks, but no thanks, Linda. This is absurd. So the next day, my husband and I, we go out on just a date. We go get some donuts, just hang out in the town, and come home around 4 p.m. As we're pulling up, we noticed like a lot of cops around the area, and we're like, are they at our apartments? As we pull closer, we see that our entire apartment complex is surrounded by cops. I'm not saying like maybe only like 5-6 police officers. No, there was like 12 to 15 police officers, and this was just the start. We had way more pull up later. There were sheriffs, there was like a SWAT team or whatever you call it. Those guys that have the full-on shields and the big guns. I have no idea what they're called, but they looked pretty scary. The K9 unit was there. Remember how I mentioned that the apartment consisted of 2 buildings? Well, guess whose building they were surrounding? We pull up and we're like, whoa, what is going on? And we try like going upstairs, and as we're walking up the stairs, there's about 6 police officers on each set of stairs, both sides of the staircases, that are blocking us from going up to our apartment. And we're kind of scratching our heads coming up and like, can we go up to our apartment? One of the police officers looks up, he looks back down at us, and he's like, well, which apartment number are you guys at? And we're like, we're in apartment 22. And he's like, you guys can't go up because the guy we need is in apartment 23. As you can imagine, by this point, we were pretty freaked out. We were like, first of all, what is going on? Who is that neighbor? And then I remember something, okay? Literally 2 days earlier, I was waiting for an Amazon package in the mail. And you know how usually whenever Amazon delivers a package to your doorstep, they'll take a picture of it and post it, and you can see the picture on the app that the package was delivered. Well, somebody was going around stealing my packages. So I start knocking on all the doors on our floor. And so I go to the guy directly across from us, apartment 23. Okay, I come up to his door and knock on the door. I've never seen this guy before. I've never seen anybody go in or out of this apartment. He creaks the door open a teeny tiny bit and looks down at me. I get a good look at his face, and you guys, little did I know, I was looking into the face of a killer. I wasn't super nice. I was like, have you seen my packages? Somebody check it. And he's like, no, sorry, I didn't see it. And shuts the door. And I was like, that was a weird interaction. Okay, whatever. This is the guy that they were looking for. Big surprise. And so we sat in the car for like 5 hours. We even had to go and like take a break, drove down to the bakery down the street, grabbed some coffee and sunflower seeds, drove back, sat there and watched the show. They had canines surrounding the entire premises. These guys were just standing with the dogs like between them, holding their harness, getting these dogs ready to go. They started going over the intercom and they were calling this guy out. And apparently what had happened is his girlfriend came out earlier and told the officers that he had a gun. So because he was armed, they couldn't go into the apartment just blind. They had to lure him out. Finally, blessed mercy, these officers finally go in, they knock the door open and throw in tear gas bombs. And we're like more than 200 feet away from this apartment, but as soon as the gas bomb goes off, we start sneezing, we start coughing, our eyes start getting watery, and it just becomes so hard to breathe. Our face starts to hurt, everything starts to hurt. It was the weirdest sensation, you guys. If that's how we felt like in the car with the windows rolled up, I can't even imagine how painful it was for the guy that they were arresting. And he was right next to this gas bomb.
Did they get him?
So they set off some kind of pepper bomb gas thing, and we can feel it all the way from here. And they moved in and I think they got him.
Did they get him?
They better have.
The officers had the masks, they had the big guns, they had the body shields. They go in, they arrest this guy, they pull him out. We're so relieved, we're so happy. At this point, we don't even know who this guy is or what he's even arrested for. We go up to the officers afterwards and we're like, oh, can we go back to our apartment, please? Since you guys arrested the guy, you took him away. You know, we're so relieved at this point that he is gone and out of here. And the officer's like, listen, we just set off a tear gas bomb. So if I were you guys, I would wait for it to air out, give it a few hours and then come back. And at this point, we've already been sitting outside for about 6 hours waiting to go into our apartment. It's almost 10 p.m. We're so tired. We just want to go in, but we went, got burgers instead, came back, went up to our apartment, and you guys, it was the toughest night to sleep. Your face hurts, you keep sneezing. Honestly, don't be a criminal just so you don't ever get tear gassed. Okay guys, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. A few days following this, we see a few officers in the area. We start asking around. We ask our management what happened, what went on. We just know a guy got arrested. We don't know anything about it. And we hear from our property managers. This guy, his name wasn't even on the lease. And what happens is they never ever release a key to somebody without seeing them in person. Somehow this guy applied and got the key. The apartment was like under his cousin's name. He had somehow appeared and just started living in this apartment with none the wiser. This guy was hiding from the authorities, and the reason he was arrested was because he was wanted for 3 counts of murder. And you guys, the craziest and most heartbreaking part of this entire story is this guy was only 17 years old. It was such a shock to us to hear all this, especially knowing that I talked to this guy, especially knowing that he lived across from us this entire time without anybody knowing, without management, not even knowing his real name or who he was or meeting up with him in person. And it was just all turned out to be such a nightmare. Shortly after that, we moved out of that apartment, and to this day, we sometimes drive by this apartment complex and we remember all of those memories and everything we went through in that apartment complex. It was crazy, you guys, but we survived. And that is the story of how we lived next door to a killer. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this isn't the type of video I usually make, but I did really want to share the story with you guys and kind of give you guys a background of everything we have been through. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe or comment below. I love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see next. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.